And I thought, oh my God, I'm 11, they're 22. Maybe in 11 years I could do what they're doing, because until then I thought all writers were 90 years old or dead. I didn't realize that was something that you could do. It's a little bit of a culture shock, even though my family had vacationed in America a lot and we were quite familiar with San Francisco. I started here as a high school freshman, which I think is the worst time to move as a child. It was still different to be here as an immigrant and not a tourist. I wrote 2 novels about the immigrant experience. Actually, I wrote 3, but 2 of them were inspired a little bit from my experience. The first one is called Fresh Off the Boat, and that was actually a story based on my family's journey, from Manila to San Francisco. And I even made my kid read it. I think it's the only book of my 50 books that both my child and my dad have read. And then I wrote a book called Something in Between. They asked me if I would write about an undocumented immigrant. And I said, sure, it's definitely an experience that many immigrants to the United States have. And while that was not my experience, there was enough in my experience about that uncertainty, waiting for your green card and all that. And also seeing that experience with, maybe friends and employees of my dad's company, telling their stories about how they came here. So that was definitely something that I knew about. And I was actually, when I say, yeah, sure, I was actually quite reluctant, because it's a very difficult story to tell, and it kind of opens up a lot of wounds of feeling like you don't belong here and, feeling kind of othered. And I think that, in a way I didn't really want to feel those again, and you'd have to feel them to really write the book. And then I wrote a book called 29 Dates, which has a Korean protagonist, and that was inspired by my sister-in-law's story, who immigrated to the United States as a international student from Korea, and she came on her own at 14. And I thought that was such a fascinating story, and I wanted to tell that story as well. I think I wanted to be a writer since I was 8 years old. I was 11 when I read about the author and writers of the Sweet Valley High series. And I remember the article wrote about these 3 young women who were all 22 years old, who wrote the books, and Francine Pascal created them. But, these young women were kind of, I guess they weren't quite ghostwriters because they had their names on the books. And I thought, oh my God, I'm 11, they're 22. Maybe in 11 years I could do what they're doing, because until then I thought all writers were 90 years old or dead. I didn't realize that was something that you could do. And before I was a writer, I was a computer programmer, and I was a fashion editor and a beauty editor and a journalist. So, I'd probably be doing something like that if the writing didn't work out. Disney published my vampire series called Blue Bloods. So I've been with Disney for almost 20 years. My editor at Disney was my first ever editor in the young adult category, so we've kind of grown up together. So I've been there for a very long time. Very proud author of the Disney publishing house. We did Descendants together. I don't think you choose Disney. I think Disney chooses you, and I think when Disney chooses you, you just say yes, because it's the most fun. I mean, I was a Disney kid. My family was huge Disney fans. We always celebrated every big moment by going to Disneyland. It was, as my dad said, the happiest place on earth. So I just have very fond memories of growing up in Disneyland. My first movie I ever saw was Cinderella. And so I just really always felt an affinity with the company. Gotham High is a graphic novel. It is a story about a young Bruce Wayne, young Jack Napier, and young Selina Kyle, who grew up to be Batman, the Joker, and Catwoman. So it's a reimagining of their origins a little bit. It's an alternate universe, and it was kind of fun to reimagine Batman as a half Chinese teenager whose mom was from Hong Kong. Yeah, I wanted to write a really fun, inclusive comic where, maybe kids who grew up reading comic books didn't really see themselves in it so much. I'm sure I certainly didn't. And it was really fun to be able to bring these characters to a background that was a little bit more like mine. And it's a fun mystery, and it's a quick read, and the artwork is gorgeous, so I recommend everybody pick it up. Give the same advice to any aspiring author, which is to not give up and to keep on knocking on that door until it opens. The people who get to be writers are the ones who really don't give up on it. And I was just reading about Brandon Sanderson, about how he had written 3 full novels. No, not 3, 13 full novels before he was ever published. And he said, if I died with a drawer full of 100 novels that were never published, I was fine with that. So I think you do have to love it, regardless of whether you succeed in publishing or not. If you're writing, you're a writer. If you want to write professionally, that's definitely something else. I think now there's so many new outlets, and you can, start your own blog or start your own website. I mean, my friends and I just started our own fashion website, the late 90s. And, just have the confidence to do that, make it happen for yourself. It's a great time to be a writer of color. With, everybody is so excited about diverse voices and new voices, and, tell us, new stories. I think the public is very hungry for that. So I think that's really, really exciting. First of all, you have to send it out. And I think that's what people don't understand, is like, if it's just, in your computer or in your drawer, and you never send it out and you never get feedback, rejection is fine.